Hey there, and welcome to the channel. Let me ask you something. Have you ever camped in the snow, surrounded by the freezing cold and endless silence? Sounds peaceful, right? But what if that silence hid something sinister? Tonight, we're diving into 3 disturbing winter camping horror street stories that will make you think twice about pitching a tent in the snow. Before we jump in, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had a creepy experience while camping? Drop your story in the comments. I read everyone. And don't forget to stick around because of the final story. Let's just say it's the kind of nightmare you'll be thinking about long after the video ends. Let's get started. The first story comes from a group of friends who decided to camp deep in a snowy forest over a long weekend. Everything started out great warm campfires, laughter, and the crunch of snow underfoot. But on the second night, things took a dark turn. As they sat around the fire, they began hearing faint laughter from the trees. At first, they thought it was an echo of their own voices, but the laughter grew louder and more distinct. When one of them, Nate, decided to shine his flashlight into the forest, they saw a shadow dart behind a tree. They laughed it off nervously, assuming it was just an animal. But as the night wore on, they realized the shadow kept circling their campsite, always staying just out of reach of the light. Around 3 a.m., the laughter suddenly stopped. The group decided to pack up and leave at first light, but as they turned to their tents, they found deep footprints in the snow leading right up to where they'd been sitting. Have you ever experienced something that made your hair stand on end like that? Let me know in the comments below. And if you are already feeling the chills, don't forget to hit that like button. The second story involves a solo camper named Emily who loved the quiet isolation of winter camping. She set up her tent near a frozen lake, miles away from the nearest town. The first night was uneventful, but on the second, she woke up to the sound of something scratching against her tent. Terrified, but trying to stay calm, she unzipped the tent just enough to peek outside. There was nothing there, just the empty, moonlit snow. But the scratching continued intermittently for hours, always in a different spot. By morning, Emily decided to leave. But as she stepped outside, she found strange symbols drawn in the snow around her tent, ones she hadn't seen the night before. She didn't stick around to figure out what they meant. Can you imagine being completely alone, miles from help, and realizing someone is watching you? If this story gave you chills, make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss any of our terrifying tales. The third and final story is perhaps the most disturbing. It comes from a couple, Mark and Lisa, who decided to try winter camping for the first time. They set up camp near a well-known trail, but were caught off guard when a heavy snowstorm rolled in. Trapped in their tent for hours, they passed the time by playing games and sharing stories. Around midnight, Mark swore he saw a light in the distance, a faint, flickering glow. Thinking it might be another camper, he stepped outside to investigate. Lisa stayed behind, nervously waiting for him to return. Minutes turned into hours, and she heard nothing but the howl of the wind. When Mark finally returned, he was pale and shaking, claiming he had seen a figure holding a lantern, walking silently across the snow. But when he tried to follow, the figure vanished. The next morning, they packed up and hiked back to the trailhead. On their way, they found an abandoned campsite with a burned-out lantern sitting in the snow and the tracks of bare feet leading away into the woods. Which of these stories creeped you out the most? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you are enjoying these eerie tales, don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who loves a good scare. Before we go, I've got a teaser for you. Our next video will dive into the When the Snow Falls, 4 creepy encounters you'll never forget, where the screams of the past still echo through the snow. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Until next time, stay warm, stay safe, and remember sometimes the silence of winter is hiding something much darker.